Hello, welcome back. So this is one of the video that I promised before. We are trying to shrink the drive for this server here. As you can see, this is a Windows box that is currently running, and it's got this public IP address here. What we're trying to do is we are trying to shrink this disk, the OS disk here. Let it just load. So this is currently 512 gigabyte. What we're trying to do here is, as you can see from the size and performance, so we are here 512 gigabyte. So we can go to 256, we can go to 128, 64, 32 and 16. So we need to see how much space are we using for the OS disk and how much we can save. So this is the bracket here. Oh, the size one, yeah. So if you are using 512, even though this is, you might not be using that much, but you're still paying for this. You're still paying for this one here. Cool. So the idea is that we need to change this one here, and let's see how this works. Cool. So as I said before, we are connected to this VM here. This is the IP address here. So currently this is the disk here, and we are, let's say, we are pretty much using just 10 gigabyte, 10 or 11, yeah. So we're not using that much anyway. So what we're planning to do, we need to shrink this drive here now, and I have documented the steps here. So first step we need to do is we need to get the partition number disk. So let's say if we get 0, because this is the one that is here, if you see it, this is number 0 here, disk number. So after that we need to get that partition number. Once we get the number, after that we need to get the partition number, and then we need to resize that partition. Let's say I'm doing this one for 31 gigabyte because we want to stay in 32 gigabyte bracket. And obviously we need to select the partition number, and you can choose the size whatever works for you. In this case we can even go to 16 gigabytes, but that would be too small for the OS, yeah. So we'll stay within 32 gigabyte. So the script that I'm going to run, this will actually create a temporary storage account, and then let me just highlight it as well. Let me just open up my classes. So it will create a temporary storage account. I think that's too big, yeah. So it will create a temporary storage account. I'll just highlight that so we know step by step what we're doing. And so first thing is storage account, and then it will create a new temp disk in a new storage account to read the footer from. This is the second step. And then it will copy the managed OS disk into the temp storage account. This is the third step. And then change the footer size to the OS disk that we want to shrink, and convert the disk back to the managed disk, because that's where we're going to run the OS, and swap the VM's current OS disk with the new smaller OS disk size here. So that's another step here, and eventually this will delete the storage account. So this will all be completed with one script. And because this video is going to take some time, so I'm going to only do this time for the OS disk, but I will do the next video for the managed disk, let's say E drive, F drive or G drive. We know that there is a simple way to create a new drive and just copy the data to that drive, and obviously you create that drive with the different size, you know, and then this way you can delete the parent drive. But just for educational purpose, I will just create another PowerShell script as well to see if we can shrink that drive instead of just creating a different drive and then copying the data. Now if I go back here, we are alright. Yeah, always the good practice that we need to follow is anytime we want to do any changes on the OS disk, we always create a snapshot. This is just in case if we want to recover it back. So the snapshot should be straightforward. We just need to give it a name. Maybe we just call it test, and after that we just leave everything as it is. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, it's just the windows. We just select the tags here. go to next. Okay, so what exactly is missing here? Alright, yeah. So we need to do, that's fine, yeah. So it should pass now. So that means like your job is completed here. So with the validation check passed. There we go, create. So this might take a few seconds. Yeah, so this is it's complete, but it's not really complete. It's just loading here, and here you go. So this is completed here now. So what we can do, we can see that we can just type in snapshots. The good reason for snapshot is that we can always create a disk from that. So let's say if we are not happy with the change, we can see the snapshots here. This is the test snapshots here, and from the snapshot we can create a disk. You can create a disk, or you can even create a VM image as well. Yeah, so let's say if our change fails, we can always create the C drive back from here. That's just a backup plan. Yeah, so now we need to go back to the VM here. So obviously you can also do right click and shrink volume, but that just takes some time. So I'll just run the PowerShell script here first. So see how it goes. So we discussed that we are running these PowerShell scripts here. We got the disk number, so that disk number is 0. So if I just copy it and I want to run it in the PowerShell script here, I'll cancel this task here. Alright, so here you can see we are after the C drive. Let me just select it again. So it's, well, let me just use my glasses. Alright, so this is the one that we after. That is 511.45 gigabyte basic, and that is the C drive. But we after the partition number, which is 4. This is what we are after. So we now can confirm that the partition number is 4. So what we need to do here now is we want to, of course, change that to number 4 here, but we want to just leave it as 31 gigabyte. You can change it to whatever size works for you. So let's see here now. Alright, so see, it's pretty straightforward, pretty quick. I'll just highlight the script that I've used again. So so this is the one here. Where's the one here? Yep. So get partition, disk number was a 0 because we discussed it before. Partition number is the 4, like I highlighted before, and we are just bringing it down to 31 gigabyte. And thing that you'll be able to see is we're just running it slow. Okay, so as you can see that 480 gigabyte is unallocated, and we want to just shrink it back at the Azure Portal level as well. So what we need to do now is we need to shut down this VM because currently it's running. The process will take some time, but what I will do, I will actually fast forward that video, but I'll still highlight what exactly is happening instead of just not showing the steps. So stop here, yes. As you can see that this is already started here now, but for some reason this just takes forever in Azure. Some of the basic tasks as well. Not sure what's going on with Azure, but yeah. Alright, so this is completed now here. What we need to do, we need to go back to the disks again, and we are after the OS disk. This is the one that we are after. So here we click here, and we need to go to the properties. So as you can see here, we need to go to the properties, this section here of the OS disk here. Alright, so we go back to the properties here. We need to copy this resource ID here, and I have just opened up another script here. This is the script that I discussed. So we need to edit here with the disk ID is within there you go. This is the one that is here. So the VM name has to be exactly the same name like the VM that is currently running. So this is just Windows. Easiest way is to just copy the name. Yep, that's the right step. Yep. So the VM name is just Windows. We go back here, we change it to Windows. Yep, and of course we want to leave it to 32 gigabyte. The reason is because if you go back to the disks here, we want to stay within the bracket that is 32 gigabyte. Size and performance. So we want to use this bracket here, 32 gigabyte. Yeah. And as you can see that we will be shifting from 512 to only 32 gigabyte. And imagine how much amount you can save. And of course, if you want to go further, you can use the 16 gigabyte as well, but that's just really not that much space for the OS to run, frankly speaking. So cool. Alrighty, so we were there. So we added, these are the only important one here, and the AZ subscription is the one you can always come back to home here and find out which subscription is the one that you're currently running here. So this subscription name is Linux and Cloud, and you need to copy exactly the name, Linux and Cloud here. Don't worry, I'll put this PowerShell script in the description and all the steps, so that will be super easy to do it. Yep. Alright, so Control S, I'll just save it now. So what I need to do is now I need to open the PowerShell. Just before that, so if we go to the storage account, you can see that there is none at the moment now. So if I refresh it, there's nothing here. We need to have one storage account if we want to. See, you have no storage mounted. You need to select one and create one. Yeah, so if I do show, I want to select Australia Central, for example, and use existing is fine. New storage account, hide, and then create. So this might take a few seconds to create the storage account, and then we will be able to see either clicking here or just using the global search, be able to find that if there's a storage account there. So it's creating. It just takes some time. Yeah, it's just showing it's creating. No storage, you have no storage mount. There you go. So now this is back here now. I'll just first show you what we are doing. This video might be around 20 to 23 minutes, yeah, but I can't really fast forward than this one, yeah, so have to be like that. Cool. So we go back to upload file, and we want to upload that PowerShell script that we just created. So if I go to, so we want to do shrink managed, no, we want to do shrink OS disk, because this is going to be the next video. It's going to just take some time. So shrink OS disk, we add that. So it's uploaded now. So what we need to do is we need to, let me just type in here, clear ls. We can see that we have our script, the one we just saved, is right here. We need to run that now. All right, so shrink OS disk PowerShell 1, so we need to run that. As you can see, that is doing some steps. Now this will take some time because this has got a lot of steps that are happening at the back end, and you'll see in the PowerShell script that if we expand, so these are the steps that it's doing. I'll just highlight. So it's gonna do, as you can see, getting the disk IDs, and then it's gonna copy the data, and then it's gonna copy some blobs and stuff, you know. So it's pretty nice. There you go. So it's doing those steps here now, and this is the process that is going to take some time. And of course, from here onwards, I will just fast forward the video, but I just won't pause it because I want you to see what steps it's taking. This might be really helpful. I'll just put some nice music in the background so you won't get bored. In the meantime, let me see if this has created any storage account already or not yet. Not yet. Oh yeah, there you go. So shrink. So what this will do, eventually when the process is completed, this account will be deleted. This is a temporary storage account that is created like we discussed in the script. And then once the process is completed, this is going to be going away. All right, just maximize this. All right, so it looks like this is completed. So it can take some time, so don't worry about the time. Yeah, it's a little lengthy process, but yeah, that really takes some time, so nothing to worry about that. So if I do refresh here now, so this storage account should be gone. There you go, so that's gone already. If I go to home screen here now, so our VM should be running, because that was the part of the script. Let's check, and that is running here now. Status is running, and that's our VM. Cool. So in this case here now, let's see if I can see the size of the disks here now. 32 gigabyte, yeah. So clearly we have achieved what we were after. So this is the 32 gigabyte size. As you can see, this is the disk, this is the VM. So this is the actual size that we were after. Just to be really clear, 32 gigabyte, yep, that was our target. Under disks, the same VM here. Cool, so what we need to do is we need to log into the server to see what exactly is going on there. So we can just RDP to that. Yeah, so if I open up the disk management, first let's see in the Explorer. So in Explorer we can see that this is here, so 20.9 gigabyte free of 30.9 gigabyte. But in the disk management we can see if there's any other additional unallocated space that we can add. So see, 458 MB is still there, so we can extend this one as well. Add that. There you go. So now we have an OS that is running within the 32 gigabyte bracket from Azure, as you can see here. So that we call it success for the C drive, the OS drive. And in the next video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shrink the E drive or F drive for that matter, and we'll see how that process works. And that is it. I'll see you in the next video. By the way, if you go back to the snapshots now, because we can see that the change is successful here now, so of course we can delete the snapshot. But if you still want to do some more checks and want to see what else needs to be done, you can still leave the snapshot. But for now, it's done from my side. Yeah, cool. I'll see you in the next video. See ya.